Welcome, everyone. So glad you could join us today. And I also want to welcome those of you who've requested a copy of this recording to look at it at your leisure. And of course, everyone that's on the call live today will get a copy of the recording as well. And it's a great way to kind of use today to reflect on the material we'll share, and then think about it a little bit, apply it to your business, and look forward to talking to each and every one of you if you'd like to talk more about what we're going to talk about today. I'd also like to introduce Lana Sanderson to you. She is helping me run this session today, and there will be a Q&A at the end. And so if you have a question that you'd like to put in the chat, she'll be managing that and make sure your questions get answered at the end, because I may have information that informs something to your question as we go along. And then the last thing is this is being recorded, obviously, because we are going to share the recording. So I wanted just to call that out, and we are not allowing any note takers into the session. So with that, the whole topic today is scaling with confidence, insights specifically for solopreneurs who want to scale up their businesses, scale up their success. So let's start by telling you a little bit about me. And my name is Elizabeth Eiss, and I am the CEO and founder of ResultsResourcing. And I'll tell you more about that later in the talk. But really, I spent decades, as a little bit of background, running Fortune 500 businesses, primarily on the operating side. And I also left that industry and joined my first tech startup in 2020. That tech startup didn't work, which is not unusual for new businesses and tech startups in particular. And after that, I knew, however, that I didn't want to go back to Fortune 500 business. I loved the space of entrepreneurship. And I really started doing some business consulting for smaller businesses, and also became an angel investor, which gave me a really interesting perspective on what it takes to scale a business and for a business to become successful and worthy of an exit, if you will. And during that time, I honestly spent 2 decades hiring freelancers to help me on my projects and to help me scale myself. So with that, I decided to launch ResultsResourcing in 2015. And I did it because I noticed in my own freelance hiring that there was a huge gap in really the talent solutions, the freelance talent solutions that were available to smaller businesses. It's all DIY. You have to do it yourself, and there's no human help. And so I decided that I really wanted to build a service and a platform that provided that human help so people, smaller businesses, could hire great freelancers to help them scale. And so what ResultsResourcing is a staffing and technology hybrid. And we offer human help in hiring fractional talent. And specifically, while you can have an individual, a freelancer, be matched with you, we also do team-based professional assistance, because sometimes a team has more people with more abilities to help you scale. But at the end of the day, I've spent decades now empowering solopreneurs and small employers to scale. And that's really what today's talk's all about, because I want to reflect on the things that we've done over the last 10 years or so, and the solutions we've helped present to small businesses to help them to scale, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned. So with that, let me start, though, with kind of an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. First is the fact that small business is vital, and I'm going to share a few statistics in a minute, which will make that clear. But we're also going to talk about the value of your time, outsourcing to scale you so you make better use of your time. We're going to talk a bit about artificial intelligence and human outsourcing, because there are 2 really different ways of outsourcing work these days, and the AI dynamic is just getting more and more interesting. We'll also be talking about some real success stories in certain types of businesses and how they've used outsourcing to scale. And then lastly, kind of bring that home. What are your options to scale you? So let me start by giving you some information about small businesses. And this, frankly, is really what inspired me when I was really getting into providing a solution for solopreneurs and small employers. But small business is the lifeblood of the U.S. economy. It's 2/3 of the net new jobs, and it drives U.S. innovation and competitiveness. And so what's interesting to me is there are 29 million solopreneurs in the United States, and another 6 million employers that have less than 10 employees. So that's 33 million small businesses in the United States, which is the vast majority, 99.9% of U.S. businesses. Yet what we all read about every day are the enterprises, the really big companies that are publicly traded or have millions and millions in sales. But that's the 1%, 1.1% of businesses in the United States, 0.1%, excuse me. So I really want to talk about everybody else, the smaller businesses that really make the economy hum. And small businesses contribute 28 trillion to the US GDP. So it's a real factor. So that's who I want to help. And really, let's take a snapshot of who we're dealing with here. And this is what I want to change. Solopreneurs, on average, generate $50,000 in revenue every year. If you're a small employer, 1 to 4 employees, it might be almost 400,000, 5 to 9, a little over $1 million, and 10 to 19, a little over 2 million. And a lot of businesses don't succeed. You know, after 2 years, only 68% of the businesses that were started succeed. It's half in 5 years. And really, when you get to 15 years, it's down to a quarter of the businesses that started. And especially through COVID and more recently, the rate of businesses being formed is really skyrocketed. And my goal is, how do I make more of these businesses succeed? And some of the reasons businesses fail are because they run out of money, their product or services become obsolete, or they get out competed. And so that's my challenge, is how do I help more solopreneurs and small employers, but primarily solopreneurs, since there are 29 million of them, have more impact. And so this presentation today is really about how to maximize your impact. And the place I like to start is really stepping back and thinking about how are you spending or investing your time? Because I think that ultimately is the key to how to optimize you, how to scale you. So really, on the back of a napkin, if you've got a piece of paper handy, just write down what you think an hour of your time is worth from a business perspective. Just jot a number down. Then jot down how many hours a week you work. And if you multiply the two, then that's a rough estimate of the value of the time you work each week. And the question is, are you investing that time to grow your business, grow the value to deliver to clients, or are you spending that time on some of the backroom work that has to happen to run a successful business, but your client won't pay for, doesn't add value to that client? And I created a really cool little tool called the ROI of Time Calculator, and you can take a snapshot of this QR code or go to the website URL down below. And it's a 3-minute survey, and it kind of goes through this process, but it'll help you evaluate what an hour of your time is worth and whether you are spending it or investing it. But let me share with you the averages. So on average, all the people that have ever taken this survey, the hourly rate is $166 an hour, and people work 58 hours a week. And of the work that generates revenue, that delivers value to clients, it's 43%. So if you do the math, 166 times 25 hours a week, that is investing 4,000 worth of your hours in building your business, adding value to your clients. But the converse is that 57%, the majority of work that people that have taken this ROI of Time calculator, are on really the non-revenue generating work, which is a cost to your business. And it's the same math. 33 hours per week times 166 is equivalent to almost $6,000 a year that people are spending on supporting their business, but not really generating revenue from those hours. And to me, the secret is, how do you move some of those hours that you're spending in the non-core work, to revenue generating work, adding value, building your network, building your community, innovation, all those kinds of things. That to me is really the question that we're going to try to answer today. And so just to recap, these are some of the hidden costs of the backroom work that take up 57% of the people that have taken this survey. Because they're working in the business rather than on it, to use kind of a tried and true phrase, they're perhaps missing growth opportunities, revenue opportunities. There's less time to have space to innovate, think of new things to offer value. You're less efficient, and frankly, quality goes down. because maybe you're not as detail oriented as some of that backroom work is needed, or you don't like doing it. And at the end of the day, there's less energy for living, which is at the end of the day, part of why we work is so we can have free time and do things we love. But of course, loving what you do is important as well. So the solution in my mind is outsourcing to scale you, to help you focus your time on what delivers the most value and the things you like doing the best. So to me, let's talk a little bit about the benefits of outsourcing to freelancers. And it's really at the end of the day to optimize your use of time and frankly, your capital. Not only the worth of your hours, but also any capital that you do spend in supporting your business. Freelancers offer three amazing qualities: high level of skill, high level of availability, and they're extremely flexible. And it's a real alternative to hiring employees, which are a big commitment in terms of cost and benefits. So to me, the benefit of freelancers are you can offload non-core work. Frankly, that's often what they specialize in. You can scale up or down because you're not making a 40-hour a week commitment. You can use what you need, go up, up and down as you need it. You can add really results-oriented talent because most freelancers are in business themselves. So they're looking at you as a client and wanting to deliver value to you as a client, and they're not punching a clock. I also think you can add broad thinking and experience because a freelancer is going to be specialized in a certain area of expertise and is going to work across clients. And they gain experience and insight into the application of that skill area by working with a lot of clients. And sometimes they'll they'll deliver ideas based on other work that they're doing. So it's really a way to, even if it's new for you, you can leverage experience that a skilled freelancer has in a particular area. And then lastly, and this is increasingly important, it's to add technology and AI utilization skills. In this world today, AI and technology is everywhere in the tools that we use. And it's one thing to use a tool at its minimum level to really optimizing a tool so you get the most out of the tool and you can leverage that AI or that software tool that you've got. And again, today's freelancers are highly technology oriented and they're really good at helping you utilize this stuff. So you don't have to be an expert in everything. So let's talk a little bit about core and non-core work, which I mentioned a little with the ROI of time calculator. And frankly, it's the old 80-20 rule. 20% of your time is the core work that delivers client and business value. And 80% is needed to run the business. And really the question here is how can you invest more time in the 20% that is your core work? So the big question is always what to do and what to delegate. And so I kind of have these three buckets. The do work is the core work, what your customer values, and it generates revenue, profit, and impact. Because sometimes impact, if you have a nonprofit organization, which needs to scale too, impact might be as important as revenue. So, it's really those three things: doing the work that generates revenue, profit, and impact. And maybe you want to do the stuff you love to do and that you're good at, because after all, working should be enjoyable. So if you like to do something, no problem. But the backroom stuff, the admin and the ops, the repetitive stuff that makes your business run, where you might need fractional skill or expertise. So you don't need 40 hours a week, but you need a little bit each week, or things you don't like to do or you're not good at. Those are all things to delegate. And really, those are the non-core work items that really are a drain to you, not only in terms of sapping your energy, but they also cost you because you're less efficient at doing these things when there's somebody else that not only is good at it, but they love to do it. So what's non-core work for you might be someone else's core work. And that's really a win-win in my mind. So just to give you some examples of do or delegate, I've really kind of got two buckets here of high ROI work and non-core work. And this will differ by business. But as a general rule, anything that's involved with actually delivering value to the client, not prep, but actually interfacing and delivering value to the client. Strategy, financial management, any new ideas that you might be creating, building partnerships with other people, developing a marketing strategy, all these kinds of things, and probably most important at the bottom, network building. So you reach more people, potential clients, potential influencers. All those things are important core work that really deserve the attention of the business owner. It's a good investment of time. Non-core work, and this is, again, is particularly going to differ by organization, but it's anything that's administrative, just managing your email or schedule. CRM systems, customer relationship management systems, are increasingly important to just manage all of your leads, your vendors, your clients, and keeping track of all the unique things that you need to attend to when you're servicing them. Anything that has to do with marketing and social media execution. So you may want to be involved in the strategy, but have somebody else do the posting, or maybe manage your community. It goes on, but it's anything that's really the back room that's not touching a customer directly, are prime things to delegate. Now, if you're a marketing digital agency, maybe marketing and social media execution is part of your core competency, and that would be fine. Or if you're a CRM specialist, that's part of your core competency. But it's really thinking about the things that are a drain, that aren't your core business. That's the idea behind these examples here. Another way to think about what to do or delegate is in 3 steps. And it's really in the diagram on the right, it's how do you scale your value delivery? And it's really in terms of process, tools, and then people. And it's important to think about these things in that order. So let me talk first about process. And most people just groan when they hear the word process. They're like, oh, it's not very sexy, it's boring, and that may be true. I happen to love it, but that's me. But ultimately, your process is how you deliver value, and it's a business asset. So if you ever want to sell a business, you need to have your process documented. It's how you uniquely deliver value to your clients and why your clients buy from you. And it's important because it helps you build repeatable processes. It helps you deliver your value, get more done consistently. It enables you to delegate to someone else so they do it consistently. And a lot of people say, oh, but I'm not a process person. That's not a problem, because there is honestly a freelance pro that's perfect for that loves nothing more than to basically interview you, get your process out of your head and into some sort of a digital paper. So you have documentation of your process and you can build from there. So you don't have to be a process person, but you can use a freelancer that loves process to help you get your process down on paper so you have that business asset. The next is technology tools. And you need to use the tools that fit your process. But I find a lot of people, it's the bright, shiny object thing. They hear about this great tech tool, they buy it, but it really may not fit your process. And then you're fitting your process to match a technology tool that really isn't necessarily conducive for how you want to do business. So I always say process first, then tools. Pick the tools that fit your process. And tech tools save time and money. You can offload repetitive tasks to tools because frankly, they're lower cost. You pay a subscription or a monthly fee, whatever it might be, but it's a fixed cost, as opposed to people, which are more expensive and are a variable cost. What's also important about technology, especially things like a CRM, like I mentioned before, is it captures really important information. And that becomes a business asset again, and data that you can use to build your business. And then lastly, it's embracing artificial intelligence. And actually, artificial intelligence has been around for a while, but in the early forms, it was workflow that is embedded in nearly every software tool that you buy today. But really, artificial intelligence helps you automate routine process workflows like a CRM, getting a newsletter out, or just communicating regularly with your clients. It helps you automate responses. A lot of people are using AI bots like dental offices or even restaurants to greet people or help them do takeout orders, for example. And frankly, AI is also really good to ideate, to think about how could I do something differently and to synthesize information. And just like process, you're not a tech person, no problem. There is a freelancer that can help you do that. And one of the cool things about freelancers, as I mentioned, is they're very tech savvy, and they really view it as part of their MO to keep abreast of technology. So you can utilize their help in making sure you're using the technology that's best for your business, that fits your process. And lastly, the third in the scale is people. because really you want to use people to leverage minds. And what people are great at is critical thinking and creative thinking. And so to me, as I mentioned, it's process, tech tools, and AI, then it's people. And people can come from three different primarily buckets. You might have an employee. You might choose to partner with a business partner or a network and get people and expertise that way. Or lastly, there are freelance contract professionals, and there's more and more people hanging out a professional single to do what they do best. So you can outsource that work to them. And again, you need a fractional talent for whatever it is. I guarantee you there is a freelance pro that specializes in that. And it's really just a matter of finding that person. So let me talk specifically about outsourcing to AI, because that's really what you're doing. It is a form of outsourcing. And so I think of virtual assistants as a professional service, just like being a CFO or a bookkeeper or whatever it might be. Those are all professional services. And I think it's important to think of it because every business has a back room. And so you want professionals helping you run your back room more efficiently so you can scale you and spend more time with clients and delivering value to the market. And for the most part, VAs, virtual assistants, have been human. And at the lower end of the spectrum, doesn't mean lower, doesn't mean not important, but at the lower end of the spectrum is our task-oriented kind of work. And this repetitive work, routine workflow, data entry, using templates and scripts. And on the other end of the spectrum is outcomes-based work. That's when you need a critical thinker, a problem solver, someone who's flexible and creative. And frankly, for other things like helping you manage time. And they're also self-motivated people because their objective is to serve you and help you do more time, make better use of your time. And frankly, they're people, so they add humanity to the problem, which is something that AI doesn't have. And so what's happening these days is that AI is taking over the task end of the market in all kinds of things, from bots to what's been embedded in CRM. That's what it does, is it takes and compares and analyzes data. It collects the data for you, and it will provide context-based support. And what I mean by that is the bots that I was mentioning earlier. Having someone to do customer support that's specialized in your industry, for example. But what's so interesting also is that the AI virtual assistant frontier is moving from the left to the right. It's capable of doing more and more. And so a lot of people use AI almost without thinking about it. But if you have Alexa or Cortana or Siri, those are all digital virtual assistants, and they are doing tasks for you every day, even if it's more personal in nature. But increasingly, all those tools can do things that apply to your business as well. But at some point, that frontier in my mind is going to begin to slow down, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be a difference between AI and human beings, because AI is trained on actual work that humans do over time, but it doesn't think and create and problem solve in and of itself. So I believe really the secret today is AI plus humans. I encourage you to use AI for as many things as you can, but add the human element, because you need to ask AI the right questions. You need to evaluate the output. You need to own the results, because AI is not going to question what they give you. Only you can do that. And only you can add the human brand voice to using AI. And the last thing is to be cautious about the data, because a lot of people put things into AI without thinking about that data becomes the general market data that AI gets trained on. So I think AI is a tremendous help to small businesses, but you got to use it in the right way. So we see that small businesses are using AI all the time. This is a Microsoft study, but 52% of SMBs are already using AI and digital virtual assistants. And frankly, might not even be aware of it because they're using a tool. But 57% are using AI in virtual customer service assistance kind of programs, 47% just to do administrative time-saving work, and 36% in really content generation. But I'd like to share kind of 4 ideas in terms of the best use of AI for business. One is to use it to generate ideas. But once you've generated the idea, then you need to personalize it, refine it with your brain power, your brand. And the other thing to think about here is that everybody asks the same question of AI, they're going to get the same answer back. So you're not going to get a differentiated answer. You're going to get the same answer that everybody asked, the same question. So it's going to be very obvious when if you post something that was built by AI that you didn't tailor. So, there's just millions of people asking to AI all the time. And you just got to be thinking about how you take it to generate ideas and then do something with it so you add your own value. I also encourage you to use it to augment your work and not think about AI as a substitute for you, but it's just going to make you more efficient and more effective. And it does have tool limitations. And one of that is really avoiding uploading sensitive information, because you might want to, say, analyze the CRM information that I am uploading, but unless you make it anonymous, you are uploading your CRM information to AI, and it becomes part of the database. So it's important to be careful in using AI, which is a really powerful tool, but just be sensible about it so you get the most of it. So let's talk about a couple real world success scenarios. And these are all based on real world work that we do supporting solopreneurs and small employers every single day over a 10-year period of time. We have many, many CXOs, coaches, consultants, advisors, and therapists in our book of business, for example. And in fact, in the early days when I started at Results Resourcing, there was no such thing as a CXO, the fractional C-level executive. They're everywhere today. So it's been interesting watching who's choosing to freelance and who needs support in doing that freelance work. So every one of these success stories is a solopreneur that's come to us for help. And the outcomes they're looking for is more time for clients, creativity, and public speaking, frankly. And the freelance support that are the most commonly requested roles, obviously anything that has to do with daily admin and scheduling, but client support, not the client interaction, but supporting the work to build a proposal or to do research or something like that supports the client work. A lot of lead generation work, pitching podcasts and speaking engagements. Many people offer courses, and there's a real art and science to setting up, managing, marketing, and the day-to-day, like Lana today, helping me with this workshop. I mean, Lana is one of my trusted VAs, and I couldn't do this without her. Newsletters, blogs, marketing, social media, website support, invoicing, bookkeeping, and that accountability partner. These are all key roles that people that in these roles come to us for and outsource to freelancers, so to free them up for client, creativity, and public speaking roles. The next group would be creatives, PR, public relations, and marketing agencies. They're agencies of one, solopreneurs, but they offer their services as a creative agency. The outcomes they're looking for, again, more time for creativity and clients. And the other thing they're looking for is a talent ecosystem. Since they're one person, they can't do everything. So they need help, specialized help in key activities. That's what they come to us for. So again, the kinds of things that are outsourced to freelancers is the admin, client support. Again, a lot of similar things. On the right, are data and reporting, because a lot of clients need client reports that a freelancer can help develop. Graphic design, video editing. Those are the kind of things that people in the creative world, PR, marketing world are coming to freelancers for. And then the last example I want to share is online sellers. It's interesting to quote one statistic is 60% of Amazon sales come from small businesses. So it's huge business. And Amazon, Etsy, and Shopify, well, Amazon, Etsy are all distribution channels. Shopify is a tool that helps people run shops on their websites. And there's a great deal of technology that's involved in setting up a shop, running a shop. And yes, you can do it yourself, but I don't know if you'll do it well. And there's freelancers that specialize in providing online seller support. What people come to us for that have online businesses, they want more sales. They want better storefronts. They want to optimize their product positioning. And so the things that people that run online stores come to us for a lot of the same things that the other roles ask for, but they want help with an all-in-one store setup, or to manage a store, to create product listings and placements, algorithms and rankings. Frankly, these stores are not unlike SEO. There's a lot to understanding how to optimize your product on these platforms. Advertising, order fulfillment, social media marketing, getting the word out that, this is a way to buy what I sell. These are all really important roles that get outsourced to freelancers. So those are three really big examples of people that we serve every single day, to give you some ideas of how different kinds of clients are using freelancers. How do you find your freelancer? Well, as of 2024, there's 76 million freelancers in the United States, and there's 1.57 billion workers globally that freelance. And so how do you find your freelancer? And the trend with freelancers is growing. They're estimating 90 million in the United States by 2028. Well, there's two primary ways. One is to do it yourself. You probably, anyone that's on this call probably belongs to networks or get referrals from their friends or family or other clients, or you can go to online platforms, and it's technically free if you don't think about the value of your time or the value of your client's time or your neighbor's time who's making referrals for you. If you've ever sent out one of those emails, do you know one that can do this? That's free, but that costs time, to work through those referrals. The second is to hire a recruiter. And people are contractor specialists like Results Resourcing. It is a paid for service value, but at the end of the day, it's an investment. So I consider DIY recruiting for freelancers to be low ROI work. It's non-core. It's not what you're in business for, and you're not expert at it. Can you get lucky? Can you be good at it? Absolutely. But it's really a question of whether you want to invest your time that way. But I do think that using a recruiter is high ROI work, because that's what we do for a living, and we do it well. So let me talk just a couple of minutes about Results Resourcing. We are a virtual fractional talent platform and service, and our mission is to help solopreneurs and small employers scale. That's why I formed the business. And we are really a freelance talent matchmaking service, both for the client and for the freelancer. So we're really talent specialists, humans that are talent specialists, and technology, the best of both worlds. So we are a fully automated proprietary technology platform that, frankly, I designed and co-developed. And we are human talent experts. And we put this company together expressly to help solopreneurs and small employers scale. And so what you get by working with Results Resourcing, and even the name says what we're all about, we are formed to resource your results. But you get to talk to a human being, someone like me that's an entrepreneur himself or herself, is standing in your shoes every day to understand your needs and help you get the right skills, scalable talent that can help you move your business forward. So our freelance talent are critical thinkers and doers. They're either teams or individuals, and they're from the United States or Canada. And I'll talk more about that in a second. And it's also very cost effective, and it's quick. So we call it on-demand freelance assistance, because we're going to match you to pre-vetted freelance professionals. They're based in the US and Canada because they're skilled in the professional practices, culture, and communication styles in these countries. They understand, they grew up here. They understand what it's like to live in this culture, and they understand the difference between Arizona and Maine, for example. They are also teams and individuals. They can offer skill breadth and depth, especially teams by role type, because a team might have multiple people on it, each that specializes in a certain thing, so you don't run into a skill cap of one individual who can only be good in so many things and only has so many hours to offer in a given week. There's no minimum hour requirements to use our service. You need 1 hour a week, no problem. You need 15 hours a week, no problem. You can scale up or down, and we can have your team ready to go once we've made the correct match. In 24 to 48 hours, you can be up and running. So these are some of the most popular roles. I won't read them off, but there's we've really created them one by one around what people kept coming to us and asking for. And we created roles that delivered the primary things people needed, whether it's social media, lead generation and sales support, online seller support, bookkeeping. All these roles are designed around offering all of the kinds of services you need from that kind of a role. And lastly, satisfaction guaranteed. I am all about delivering results for your business so you can scale and succeed. So in conclusion, here's just 5 tips to think about scaling you for fourth quarter impact and setting yourself up for success in 2025. Calculate the value of your time. Know what your time is worth so you choose to spend it or invest it. I encourage you to focus on your core work because that is going to drive value and revenue. And you don't need to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. I mean, pick 1 to 2 non-core backroom roles to outsource. Start small. Get the hang of it. And maybe some of the least sensitive things. It might be simply organizing your inbox, something like that. But get started and get the feeling of how outsourcing work can free you up and you've got more time to do other things. And that will build incentive to do more. And then engage freelance pros that fit your needs and commit to working with them because it's a skill to learn how to delegate. And then frankly, once you've gotten started, build a plan to scale you more in 2025 and we'll help. I mean, I love talking to small business owners and helping them figure out ways that they can think bigger, be bigger by outsourcing to vetted virtual freelancers. So I'd encourage you to get in touch so we can talk about scaling you and booking a free 30-minute consultation. And so I've got 2 QR codes for you here below to either schedule a call with me or just to link up with me in LinkedIn. So I really appreciate everybody being here today. And we're going to open up the floor to any Q&A. So Lana, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. We have a question from Anne. Anne is asking, how many freelancers does a growing business typically engage with?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm going to answer it this way. It really depends. And it depends on what you need. Because if you need a virtual assistant, the virtual assistant can do a lot of different things. But if you need a virtual assistant and someone that does video editing, that VA might not be able to do video editing. So you might need more than one person. And that's really how we ended up getting to the team model. I mean, because in the early days, we would match our clients with one freelancer at a time. But that's what happened is they would get the VA, but then the VA couldn't do that next thing they wanted to do. And then they had to have a second or a third or a fourth VA. That's really the beauty of the team is it's one-stop shopping. The team is going to have a lot of different capabilities. So you could technically just have one team led by one team leader. Like Lana, for example, is one of our team leaders, runs her own company, and she's got a team of people, and she kind of manages a client in that way, making sure that the right resource gets matched with the client's needs. So it really depends, but it may just be one if you get the right person that's got all the skills that you need. And it's important to go back to basically the ROI of time calculator and understand all of your needs. So you not only think about what are the immediate things I need done, but what are the things I might need done, in the next, 2 to 4 months, for example. So to think now and think out the future a little bit.
Perfect, thank you. We have another question. I have a limited budget, but how do I get my money's worth? I'm afraid of racking up working hours.
That's a good one. And it's a concern that I hear from a lot of business owners, especially if they've not done a lot of delegating. But basically, that's something that's totally within your control when you work with the right freelancer. Because basically, what I encourage to have happen is to take an inventory of the things that you need done. And then the freelancer that you engage with can help you kind of scope that work. So if you have a list of 5 priorities, you talk about each one and figure out what's it going to take to get you into the end zone. on each of those 5 priorities, and then talk about your budget and say, okay, of the 5 priorities, what are the most important 2, for example, and how many hours is it going to take to get things done? And then basically you can set a weekly budget, and maybe it takes 2 weeks to get something done, or even 4 weeks to get something done. If it's, say, perhaps optimizing a CRM system, it might take a little bit longer. But you can really, having a plan in place, you can basically establish your budget in terms of, I don't want to have any more than X money spent in a given week to get things done. And it's just managing that project accordingly, so you can stay in control. You can get the really great talent that can help you succeed, help you get something done without feeling like there's a blank check. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just a matter of planning and communications. And I think that's one thing that freelancers, that really good freelancers, can do for you, is they can help you plan and organize and then project manage.
Brilliant. Thank you. We have another one. How responsive are VAs typically for time-sensitive or urgent tasks?
Well, again, that I think depends on, what terms you have engaged the freelancer on, and frankly, where they are. If you're talking about an offshore freelancer, that there may be a time factor involved. But I think it's one of those things that, if you've got a commitment, get a commitment up front on what is responsive to you, and is the freelancer committed to doing that. And there might be different levels of response, but at the end of the day, freelancers are in business to support people no matter what their specialty is, and so they may have more than one client. So expecting an instant reply, if you haven't got an agreement to that, may be unrealistic. So I think it's something that you need to think about. Is it an urgent thing because something truly just cropped up or wasn't planned for? It's a conversation that needs to be had. But the more dedicated a VA is to you, the more responsive they should be. But if you're only contracting for a couple of hours a week, maybe that person has a client that's booked them for 20 hours a week. They're probably going to be more responsive to that 20-hour-a-week client than they are to the 2. So it's, you've got to think about it in a number of different ways. But, I believe that responsiveness comes down to proper communication and setting up expectations in the beginning of a working relationship with a freelancer.
Thank you. We have another question. I know you don't require a minimum, but do you recommend a certain amount of hours to get started and onboarded? For example, if I wanted to invest X amount of dollars for the rest of the year, what is the ramp up expectation?
Well, I think in anything, there's going to be a little bit more time in the beginning just to get established, from, onboarding to setting, kind of the terms and conditions of how you want to work together. But I think you can work backwards. And it goes back to what I said before about taking stock, of what your top priority is, and building a plan together, with your freelancer, and figuring out, is all the work you need done can be done by one person, or is it going to be multiple people that kind of need to get up to speed on your business? So at the end of the day, I think, establish a budget, and then I'm not sure what the percentage would be, but I'm just going to say off the top of my head, maybe it's 25% of it might be the first couple of weeks. And I think that it's better to spend a little bit more time in the beginning to build a relationship with your freelancer or your freelance team, and kind of get to know each other, figure it out. So you might taper off after that, because then you get into a routine with that freelancer or freelance team. But initially, I think it's a good investment to spend a little more time together and build joint work practices. And I always recommend a weekly meeting with the freelancer, even if it's 10, 15 minutes at the beginning of the week, to kind of, what happened last week, what went well, what maybe could have been done better, what are the plan for this week, so you stay in alignment. So I would encourage a bit more of an investment in the beginning, and also with onboarding, the freelancers are really good at onboarding clients and helping you get organized and developing a plan of attack. And so you don't have to be the most well-organized person. You can really, working with the right freelancer, leverage them to help them teach you how to use them effectively.
What if I already have a VA who I like a lot, but she can't do everything I need?
Yep. And more power to whoever answered that question, because they have a VA and they've started the outsourcing process. So kudos. But my answer would be keep that person. I mean, if you've got an investment in working with that person and you're working well together and that person is delivering value, then by all means, keep working with that person. And you can hire other freelancers to work with you and that person, and freelancers that are more skilled in other things. They may even have overlapping skills, but then at the end of the day, if that freelancer you love wants to take a 2-week vacation, then you've got backup. So I think it's great to think about a team, and that it's not one or the other. It's like, how do you build the proper talent ecosystem around your business needs, and frankly, redundancy and capacity to help you build your business when you need something done. So I think new freelance team members can complement existing ones.
I want somebody who thinks strategically, and Outface's person would like to, work with clients directly. Do you have people on your team who do that? Strategic thinkers who would work with clients directly?
Well, I would answer the question yes, but I would caution against that, because at the end of the day, we have freelancers that do work directly with clients, but we don't. Ultimately, what you deliver to your clients is your core value. And if you're using a freelancer that's not technically part of your team, is part of your team but not an employee, it can get a little confusing, and at the end of the day, we have many freelancers that are very engaging, work well with clients, but they're going to build a relationship with that client, and just wouldn't want that to interfere with your relationship with the client. So I think it's just something to be careful about. And ultimately, freelancers are in business to run their businesses and support you. So I advocate more of a client support role as opposed to direct client interface, but they're super people that are super capable of providing those services. It really kind of depends, I guess, also on what the nature of your business is that you need customer support for. But I would love to talk to you about it and explore that further, and I might be able to give you a better answer.
What's the difference between offshore and onshore freelancers?
Okay, well, going back to the stats I quoted, there are almost 1.6 billion freelance workers around the world. And anyone that's not in the US, or Canada, in my mind, is offshore. So it's working with somebody in another country to support you. And in many economies, the labor rate is much lower, and the cost of living, of course, is much lower in a lot of different places in the country compared to the United States or Canada, for example. So offshore refers to people that aren't in the US or Canada. And there's really pros and cons. There are super smart people all over the world, and there are people that speak English super well and write it well. And it really depends on what kind of work you want done, and whether kind of local knowledge of the culture, the state or the country is important to the work that you want that freelancer to execute. But basically, offshore is anybody that is not in the United States or Canada, and onshore is US or Canada.
Thank you so much. Any last questions?
Okay. Thank you, Lana. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your attending today, and great questions. And I would love to hear from you. No obligation. I learn a lot from talking to you so I can better help other solopreneurs. And if you're not ready to hire today, I can help you along your journey and would love to help you scale your business, however that can be. So I really encourage you to link in with me on LinkedIn and schedule some time, and we can talk about your business and how to scale you. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your week.